I keep telling myself I didn't leave him because of Valentine's Day. But if I'm being completely honest, Valentine's Day was the moment everything finally clicked into place. We'd been together for almost 2 years. This wasn't a casual thing, not just seeing where it goes. It was supposed to be a real, committed relationship. At least that's what I believed. From the outside, anyone would have thought we were perfect. We rarely fought. We posted cute pictures together. We'd met each other's friends. It all looked fine. But what nobody saw was how incredibly uneven everything felt behind the scenes. I was always the planner, the initiator. I was the one who remembered his mom's birthday, the one who checked in after he had a long day at work, the one who suggested date nights just to keep the spark alive. If we went anywhere, it was because I picked the place and made the reservation. If we celebrated an anniversary, it was because I brought it up first. He wasn't a bad guy. He wasn't mean or cruel. And honestly, that's what made it so confusing for so long. He just didn't try. There was no effort. Whenever I gently bring up how I felt like I was carrying the emotional weight of our entire relationship, he just shut it down. He'd say things like, "You overthink way too much," or, "Not everything has to be such a big deal." So I stopped making it a big deal. I shrank myself to fit into the small space he gave me. Until Valentine's Day. I wasn't expecting diamonds or some grand, Instagram-perfect dinner. I just wanted a little bit of effort. Something, anything, that showed he had thought about me without me having to prompt him, without me having to plan it for him. Just a sign that I was on his mind. A week before, I casually asked, "Hey, what do you think we should do for Valentine's Day?" He just shrugged and gave me his classic answer. "Oh, we'll figure it out." That was always his response for everything. So I waited. A few days later, I tried again, hinting a little more strongly. This time he laughed. He said, "Oh, come on. It's just a commercial holiday. Don't fall for all that hype." That should have been my red flag right there. But a tiny, hopeful part of me thought, maybe he's just pretending not to care because he's planning a surprise. So on Valentine's Day, I got ready anyway. I left work a little early. I did my hair, put on my makeup, and wore the dress he once told me he really liked. I kept telling myself not to get my hopes up, but of course I did. 6 o'clock came and went. No plan, no reservation. "No, be ready by 7, I'm picking you up." Nothing. Just a text message that landed like a brick in my stomach. It said, "Hey, I might go watch the game with the guys. We can do something this weekend." That was it. No apology. No real effort to reschedule. Not even an acknowledgement that this day might have meant something to me, even if it didn't to him. I just stared at that message for what felt like an eternity. And in that moment, it wasn't about the holiday anymore. It was about the pattern. It was about all the times I planned every single detail. All the times I adjusted my schedule to fit his. All the times I lowered my expectations, again and again, just so I wouldn't seem high maintenance. Sitting there alone in that dress, a crushing realization washed over me. I felt completely and utterly single. Single, while being in a relationship. I didn't feel chosen. I didn't feel prioritized. I felt optional, an afterthought. And the worst part? I knew deep down that if I made this an issue, if I got upset, I'd be the one labeled as dramatic and overly emotional. So I didn't argue, I didn't start a fight. I just replied, "Okay." And as I hit send, I felt something inside me just quietly shut off. That night, while he was out with his friends, I replayed the last 2 years in my head. I thought about all the times he'd canceled plans at the last minute. All the times I felt like I was begging for crumbs of affection and trying to convince myself it was a full meal. Valentine's Day didn't break us. It just exposed what was already broken. The next day, he acted like absolutely nothing had happened. He sent me funny memes. He asked what I was doing later that evening. It was then that I saw my two options clearly. I could stay in this relationship and continue shrinking my needs to make him comfortable. Or I could leave and finally, for the first time in a long time, choose myself. So I told him we needed to talk. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse him of anything. I didn't even bring up the game night in an aggressive way. I just calmly and honestly said, "I don't feel valued in this relationship." And he rolled his eyes. He said I was overthinking again. He said I was turning nothing into something. And that, right there, was all the confirmation I needed. Because to me, his consistent lack of effort wasn't nothing. It was everything. It was the consistency of him not trying. The consistency of him brushing off my feelings. The consistency of him just assuming I would always be there, no matter what. Valentine's Day was never about the flowers or the chocolates. It was about seeing and being seen. It was about effort. And I finally understood a fundamental truth. If someone wants to show up for you, they will. They won't be perfect. It won't always be extravagant. But it will be intentional. I walked away from that relationship later that week. Not because he forgot one silly holiday, but because I realized that in the process of fighting for his attention, I had been completely forgetting myself. Now, some of my friends say I overreacted. That it was just one day. That maybe men aren't wired to care about these things. But here is the thought I keep coming back to. If the bare minimum feels like too much for someone to give you, then why are you fighting so hard for more? So I want to ask you all, honestly, was I wrong for letting Valentine's Day be the last straw? Or was it just the first time I finally stopped ignoring the truth that was right in front of me all along? Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for listening.